Hey Steelers fans! Today's news is bringing a bang and shaking things up behind the scenes. The Steelers' new receiver is poised to revolutionize the offense. He dropped a line that fans loved. Meanwhile, a big decision about Mike Tomlin is about to be made. Something no one expected, but Adam Schefter came forward and revealed it to everyone. And to top it all off, some comments from a former Steelers player are causing a stir in a way that seems unusual. Let's start with the first piece of news involving the Steelers' new receiver. Look, everybody in Pittsburgh knows this wide receiver room has been a roller coaster all year. People were worried back in training camp, and honestly, they were right. The numbers haven't been there, the consistency hasn't been there, and the offense, even with Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf, it just hasn't clicked the way it was supposed to. Sitting at 6-6, the Steelers don't have the luxury of waiting for something to magically fix itself. They need help now. That's why the front office took a swing and grabbed 35-year-old Adam Thielen off waivers. And yeah, he's not the 2018 Pro Bowl version of himself anymore, but this is a guy who still takes insane pride in proving people wrong. Everyone close to him kept saying the same thing, he just wanted a real chance to play. And Pittsburgh might be the one place where he actually gets that opportunity down the stretch. Thielen spoke with the local media on 93.7 The Fan, and you could hear it in his voice. The dude's confident. He genuinely believes he can help this offense, and he wasn't shy about it. I still feel like I can run every route, deep, intermediate, short, whatever. People love to slap the old label on you, but I've always felt the need to prove otherwise. I feel really good, and I'm excited to get on the field. You can tell he means it. This isn't a retirement tour. This is a guy who knows his window is closing and wants to squeeze every last rep out of it. When he went back to Minnesota earlier this year, the plan was to contribute again, mentor younger guys, and be part of something stable. But the Vikings turned into a mess. No identity, no rhythm, no direction. Thielen could feel himself being phased out. Not because he couldn't play, but because the team couldn't figure out what they were doing. He wanted a situation where he could trust the coaching staff and feel like the games actually mattered. Pittsburgh fits that mold perfectly. Say what you want about Mike Tomlin or the offense, but the Steelers play meaningful football every December, and now Thielen walks into a locker room that desperately needs a steady veteran, someone who knows how to move the chains, someone Rodgers can trust on third down, someone who doesn't disappear when things get tight. The Steelers have been begging for exactly that. The drops, the miscommunications, the inconsistency. It's been brutal. Thielen isn't a superstar anymore, but he doesn't need to be. He just needs to be reliable. If he can give Rodgers even a fraction of what he used to do in Minnesota, that alone would be a massive upgrade compared to what the room has produced this year. And while Thielen's arrival already shook things up, the next story is way bigger. It's about Mike Tomlin, and Pittsburgh has a massive call to make sooner than anyone expected. So here's where things get really interesting. All week long, people have been arguing about the offense, the record, the injuries, all of it. But behind the scenes, the biggest storyline isn't even on the field. It's about Mike Tomlin's future in Pittsburgh. Adam Schefter dropped a bomb this weekend. The Steelers aren't planning to fire Tomlin after the season, but they still have a huge decision to make, and they have to make it early next year. Tomlin's contract covers 2026, but there's also a team option for 2027, and the Steelers must decide whether to activate that option by March 1st. That's not a soft deadline. That's a sit in a boardroom with every major executive and talk through everything deadline. Schefter even said the organization wants to review the entire season before deciding, which is GM speak for, we need to look at everything very closely. Now here's where the situation gets complicated. Schefter mentioned a few key points Pittsburgh is weighing. The Steelers haven't won a playoff game since 2016. Tomlin has never had a losing season, 18 straight years. A trade involving Tomlin isn't off the table. The organization is nowhere near making a final call. This is the classic Steelers dilemma, stability versus results. Tomlin is respected, he's consistent, players buy into him, but the postseason drought hangs over everything. Fans feel it, media feels it, the franchise definitely feels it. And speaking of fans, they made their voices loud and clear after that ugly 26-7 loss to Buffalo. Chants to fire Tomlin echoed through the stadium. Pittsburgh fans don't usually go after coaches like that, so when it happens, it means frustration has reached a breaking point. But then, out of nowhere, Mike McCarthy jumped in on the Pat McAfee show and basically went to war defending Tomlin. He said the weekly overreactions around the league are wild and that people don't realize how tough Tomlin's job actually is. McCarthy even called this the start of the second half of a Hall of Fame career. That's not a small compliment, and honestly, he has a point. The Steelers are still fighting for first place. They may look messy at times, but they're in the mix. Again, that consistency is part of what makes this decision so difficult. If you move on from a coach like Tomlin, you better be absolutely sure the next guy isn't a downgrade. So here's what it all comes down to. Pittsburgh has to decide what they value more: the stability Tomlin brings, or the playoff success they haven't tasted in almost a decade. The franchise doesn't make impulsive moves, and they won't do anything without long discussions. But the fact that this option decision is even on the table tells you just how delicate this moment is. And just when you think things couldn't get messier, some insider comments finally shed light on Minkah Fitzpatrick's departure, and it's sparking serious debate. Now, Steelers fans, this one's a bit spicy. Minkah Fitzpatrick's move after the 2024 season has been dissected endlessly, but recently Bryden Fehoko, a former teammate and now retired Steeler, dropped some insight on 93.7 The Fan that adds a whole new layer. Fehoko played alongside Minkah in 2023 and 2024, so he knows the locker room dynamics firsthand. According to him, it wasn't just one thing, it was a mix of incidents and expectations. I think there were a lot of things. Maybe that post-game interview where Minkah talked about reaping the rewards rather than just showing up and performing, that was part of it, Fehoko explained. And then the pay versus production just didn't line up. He also made it clear that Pittsburgh's approach to personnel is strict, and not just for Fitzpatrick. The Steelers, like every team in the NFL, expect top-level production when they're paying top dollar. Falling short isn't just disappointing, it's noticed. It was a mix of those things piling up that eventually led to the split, he added. So, what does that mean in practical terms? While Minkah has been okay in Miami, registering 1 interception and 6 pass deflections, the Dolphins haven't exactly set the league on fire either. Meanwhile, back in Pittsburgh, the secondary has struggled to consistently replace his production. Injuries and shifting personnel mean the Steelers have had to rotate between Jalen Ramsey, Brandon Eccles, Chuck Clark, and Deshaun Elliott week to week. Fehoko's insight is valuable because it highlights a pattern that isn't unique to Pittsburgh. The NFL is a results-driven business. Stars are expected to produce constantly, and the culture in Pittsburgh especially is one where your paycheck comes with heavy accountability. Minkah may have had the talent, but the combination of comments, performance, and pay created a perfect storm. Fans might look at Miami and say he's still elite, but the Steelers are already dealing with gaps his absence created. The secondary's inconsistency shows just how crucial his presence was, not only in coverage stats, but in leadership and reliability. The takeaway: Fitzpatrick's trade wasn't about a single event or a personality clash alone. It was about production, accountability, and timing. And for Steelers Nation, the ripple effects of that decision are still very much alive this season. So, Pittsburgh is juggling Thielen's spark, Tomlin's future, and the Minkah fallout. Big moves, big questions. As a fan, you gotta ask, are we ready to trust this team, or are more shocks coming? Hit subscribe so you don't miss a single update on the Steelers.